First,
Mike, you heading down to Madison today or?
tomorrow, so turkey.
But it's fresh salad.
I think we should make a resolution to forget about summer, which is just gonna take over.
I think somebody already made that.
Yes.
I just might be able to.
We had it.
We're already in the winter
We
again.
had a week, yeah.
I told my brother who lives in Jacksonville, Florida, I said, for every year that you have a summer, winter, fall, spring, we have two of them in 1 year.
Robert, tell Ryan to get me, he'll be 5 minutes late.
Hey, bud, you're gonna be 5 minutes late. Okay, we'll see you in a few minutes. Bye-bye.
Very much. I'm ready.
Okay, now it's 10 o'clock on Monday, May 3rd, 2023. The Pelican River Forest Committee is called to order. We're in the county boardroom on the second floor, in the United County Courthouse. I guess I'd be looking for a motion to approve today's agenda. So moved.
Second.
Got a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from April 3rd, 2023.
I'll make the motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Move on to public comment. We ask that you come up, write your name down, state your name and address, and you'll be given 3 minutes to talk. We can start on the right hand side here.
Morning. John Cox, 2196 Point Road, Eastman, found in the common. Like yourselves, I'm in favor of conservation of our natural resources. I'm also in favor of conservation easements. I know this is a big project and we've got to be very careful with it. Local units of government should be involved in the process, and it looks like our DNR secretary has agreed to the same thing, so that's a good thing. This committee has come up with some good questions and comments and concerns for this project, and I thank you for that. Going forward, I would hope that the parties involved could find some common ground and make this project happen. I'm in favor of the project. This project is right in my own backyard, and I'd like to see it happen. Thank you.
You guys probably know me by now. I'm Kathy Cooper. I live at 4820 Riverbend Road in Pelican Township. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I've said over and over again, these easements are wildly popular with the constituents. I just got stopped in Walmart yesterday talking about, like, that's the only place left for this one guy to hunt. Because all this like consolidated paper land has been sold off in parcels, and where he used to hunt, there's always no trespassing signs all over the place. This is where the common man goes to hunt. This is also where forestry happens, and this is also where tourism happens. And all of those activities bring in money. I'm afraid that if we develop this property, we're going to be sorry, because there's mining interests all over the area. And I have done a lot of research on strip mining, open pit mining, all kinds of mining. There's never in the history of the earth been a mine that did not pollute the water, that did not leach into the water. Even the Flambeau mine down in Ladysmith has been found to leach toxins into the water that feed into the Flambeau River over there. And everybody was, saying that that was like such a clean mine. And there is no such thing as a clean mine. There's no such thing as no environmental consequences from a mine. The acquisition of these easements will bring the property values up, not down. But the acquisition of development, that will bring the property values down, especially the development of a mine. That poor lady who lives over around Lassick Road where the gravel pit is, what do you think her property values are doing? And now, and they want to put an asphalt plant there too? I mean, she is fighting it tooth and nail, and I don't blame her because we invest our life savings in our homes. And having, you know, something like this, come about and, you know, out of no, fault of our own to decrease our property values. Please think about your constituents. Everyone that I've talked to from Monaco, is in favor of the easements. Everybody I talked to in my district, I have not heard a single thing in favor of not doing these conservation easements. So, please consider that. Consider our property values, consider our need to recreate, consider our health. Not only with clean water, I mean, mining, you know, when they do, you know, make a mess and they're supposed to clean it up, a lot of them never do. And a lot of them stick the taxpayers, in my out of time, stick the taxpayers with the cleanup, effort. Look at PFAS.
You're gonna have to wrap it up.
Look at PFAS. Now, we're gonna be stuck with that bill. And we don't wanna be stuck with the bill from whatever development happens if we don't get these easements. So thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else on that side here? Go to the left side, front row. Second row. Third row. Anybody on the left side? If not, then we'll end the public comment. Now we'll move on to number 5, discuss the town of Sugar Camp and the town of Monaco resolution. So, hope you guys have looked over them, if you had any questions. If not, Langley County. That one's quite different than the Monaco Sugar Camp.
Well, can I comment on the language?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I went down to the Langley County meeting. Langley presented that resolution with no input from the towns of Oneida that were in Oneida County or Oneida County. And a lot of it they put in there deals with Oneida County, but I'm not sure that we may be agreeable to everything that's in that document. But they produced that document at their meeting, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago down in Antigo. But there was no input from us into that document.
Nothing, maybe nothing on that. We will move on to number 7. Discuss the economic development letters. And we do have, yeah.
Here, down here. Well, whoever he wants to do.
Just want to state your name and Jeff.
I'm Jeff Dorn, Executive Director for Oneida County Economic Development Corporation. So my comments this morning are really not on the environmental value of the easement, just the economic value to Oneida County. It's references like the Wisconsin State Bar Association, Joint Finance Committee, various websites in terms of for and against. And just kind of that's where the 2 documents that I sent you, it's evolving, so a little bit different first versus second. And I've got some additional comments from additional research that I'd like to go through this morning to kind of tie this all together. So starting with the State Bar Association, the Wisconsin State Bar Association, they wrote a position paper on easements for Wisconsin, I believe in 2021 or 22. Their stated view of an easement, conservation easement preserves open spaces with other environmentally significant resources while providing income tax, property tax, and estate tax savings to the owner. So that's the basic framework for the easement. Easements are typically done when the surrounding land use or value either encroaches on the unprotected land or due to surrounding property tax value, which raises the property taxes on the unprotected land for levels that are unsustainable by the landowner. In this case, all the parcels are an MFL, which prevents that. Typically, a landowner would donate the easement to gain estate or other tax value. In this case, the landowner is selling the easement to the state of Wisconsin for the difference in appraised value with or without the easement. Plus, the Wisconsin DNR is adding $1 million to cover the endowment to maintain the roads. So that's where the Wisconsin, where they came up with the value of 15.5 million. Mention all parcels are enrolled in MFL, meaning the taxes are frozen, essentially while the land is in MFL, and really so the easement makes no difference in that particular case. The property, as without easement, the property enrolled in MFL could exclude the public, which by essentially raising the taxes or the fees to be in MFL. But that's if the easement does not go in. So that's a way that the towns could get more money if it was closed off to the public. So the easement would maintain that access to the public. Since the property is enrolled in MFL, and this is important, the amount of timber that could be removed would be unaffected by the easement, with or without. The MFL kind of protects that. However, the easement does make it more expensive for timber companies to harvest that timber. So that's a concern, and that's a concern the Joint Finance Committee has as well. With the construction of the easement, it makes it more difficult to actually harvest timber, or more expensive, I should say, to harvest timber. Not more difficult, just more expensive. The appraisers from the Wisconsin DNR determined the highest and best use of the property is industrial forest. So that's really maintaining the status quo. These same appraisers estimated that the easement would reduce the market value of the property by as much as $570 an acre. The appraisers also estimate that easement would reduce the value of the total forest by between $14.5 and $17.7 million. The DNR uses the lower value in calculating the value of the easement itself, and then they're adding $1 million for the endowment for the roads, and that's where the $15.5 million comes from. So again, the conservation fund is not providing the endowment, the DNR is with the taxpayer dollars. So if you look at it from that all in, there is from an economic development standpoint, locking the land in place would mean it would stay exactly the way it is in terms of income now forever. If the land stays out of the easement, you've got MFL, or you've got land that could be sold, yes, to raise property taxes. Landowners can take property out of MFL and they would pay property taxes on that. Other development could happen. So from that standpoint, from the economic development standpoint, the easement would lock everything in place. At the current, it's really the lowest value being in MFL. What questions can I answer?
Why would it be more expensive to log?
So typically what timber company, Joint Finance Committee has a long discussion on this. What timber companies do is they will buy land that's ready to harvest. They will harvest that land and then sell it. The way these easements are constructed, they can only be sold in 2,000 acre increments, which makes it very difficult for the timber companies going to say 40 or 80 acres and want to harvest, buy and sell it. It stays in MFL, but it becomes more expensive for them to operate in terms of their business model. They'll have to change their business model. And I was in the forest products industry for 35 years, and I can attest that's true.
Jeff, how much more expensive?
That's not determined. It'll be situational, depending how the land is laid out. And it's the part of the problem. It's also 28,000 acres of wetland forest, which makes it difficult. So blocking things in at 20,000 or 2,000 acres makes it difficult with all the wetlands that are in there.
Any other questions, Brian?
There was also a comment, I made the comment on low density tourism. If you look, the land right now is open to the public. Yes, a lot of the roads are gated, but the roads will only be open for half the year. So ATVs can use, the snowmobiles really will be locked out of those roads. From the standpoint of hiking and hunting, that's low density. There's just not a lot of people that are using the land. It is being used, but typically they're also local, so there are people already here. So by opening up these 70 miles of roads, I don't expect there'd be a boom in tourism. There'd be the tourism that we have now. So again, there's just not a lot of economic improvement that the easement would provide.
That makes sense to me, and you're an economic specialist, right? So you kind of specialize in that area, right?
I run a economic development corporation.
So I've always said I like mountain biking, but from an economic standpoint, those kinds of sports, I don't see bringing the same money to the community as snowmobilers. When a snowmobiler goes out riding, he goes and frequents the taverns, he has breakfast, lunch and supper. He spends his money in our community, he may hit a tree on the way home and he goes and buys a new sled in the morning. That guy dumps money into our community. The bike guy that comes up on his bike, I typically see him with a backpack on, they got their bird seed with them and their little pop-up tent. And they don't spend as much money as that snowmobiler in our community. I like mountain biking, but from an economic standpoint, I think that these guys spend more money. So now we're looking at this easement. We're gonna have snowmobile trails through there, four-wheelers, they're gonna spend all this money. Where are we seeing that? You're telling me it's benefiting the people that are coming into our community to use these trails more than it is the people that live here. Because they're not gonna spend a lot of money in our community, being it that far away from the bigger, where the hotels are and whatnot.
Yeah, I think the way I would describe it is that it's just not going to change with or without easement, just because of the way the land is configured. The flip side is if you didn't have the easement and all of a sudden this land were to be closed to the public, that would be a story, but logging companies don't do that. This land has been, it's been appraised as a working forest, it's been that way for 100 years. There's no driver to make it any different at this point. So, from the easement now, from an environmental standpoint, you guys have to decide. From an economic development standpoint, at least now for the foreseeable future, I don't see a difference without the easement, and you're spending $15.5 million in taxpayer dollars.
No question. They're gonna lock the gates at the end of the year. How does that benefit snowmobile?
It doesn't. There's existing snowmobile trails through there now, particularly with the first easement. I think there's if the map I saw had one large snowmobile trail through it. That's maintained by the snowmobile club.
So this has zero impact on.
These 70 miles of roads would have zero impact for snowmobilers because they're maintained for the summer use.
So we're having easements for people on bicycles, that's it.
Bicycles, trucks, for hunting, examples, they're one-way logging roads. These logging roads exist now. The logging companies currently maintain those to get at the wood to harvest it. And if they're gonna harvest 80 acres or whatever, first thing they'll do is they'll get a road to it. Maintaining those roads depends on those lanes being logged in the future.
So using this, everybody using this, that it's gonna bring snowmobilers and ATVs into the area schools,
I think in the summer, ATVs would have access to these roads and would use them,
but not.
not snowmobiles, because it's closed December 1st or 31st.
And the trails don't normally open until December anyways.
Right, that's the issue.
Anything else for Jeff?
Yeah, is there guaranteed that these roads will be open for bear hunters? Come in with their dogs and their equipment and people are bow hunting, or is there somebody gonna make a rule that I wouldn't be able to stop, that all of a sudden you can't bear hunt? We don't know all this.
So you'd have to read the actual easement structure, and I have not seen a full copy of that. I don't know where it is. But I know the Joint Finance Committee's pulled out certain pieces of it, like the 2,000 acre, minimum, in terms of breaking it up. But yes, it'll come down to how the DNR remember the DNR is putting $1 million into managing the roads. The DNR would have to make those rules.
How far does the $1 million go? What about 20 years from now?
So the Joint Finance Committee says that $1 million would be adequate to maintain 50 miles of logging roads, not the 70.
For how long?
They don't say. They say the way the current DNR manages roads, they believe it will be enough for 50 miles.
So this is going in forever.
It's forever, that's a
There's
concern.
only $1 million gonna last forever.
If you just use revenue generated to maintain the roads, and $1 million is always there, will the revenue generated be enough to maintain the roads? That will be the question. Remember, the logging companies also will have a stake in maintaining these roads for their use. So that's why they're saying 50 miles might be enough, that the other 20 miles would be the logging companies, but again, over time, forever is a long time. It's hard to say what will happen, 20 years from now, but right now they say it'll work.
They did the same thing, we got all this money to build bike trails. Asphalt pavement, I kept raising my hand, where's the money gonna come from when they start falling apart? Next lawsuits are coming. They can't look far enough ahead. Let's build them now, it's the right thing to do, but they don't think that far ahead. So these roads is something we should talk about. I mean, you can't maintain 50 miles when there's 70 miles. Doesn't make sense to me.
You can't maintain it forever.
That's right. they already had these washouts. The guy that owns the property was with the DNR on, Wednesday, Thursday. And I talked to him, they're already washouts and it's gonna be a problem.
Anything else for Jeff?
You can always call my office as well if you have other questions.
Yeah, this low density is a big deal. That's what I'm hearing from our experts, low density tourism. It's not like building a marina or something or something, a restaurant people are gonna come to in our community. This is seemingly more and more low density for those that don't have land to hunt on, that we heard today. This is the only place I can hunt, so government should supply a place for me to hunt, is how I look at that. And that's not right. I saw a gentleman speak here on the Pelican River Forest the first day and got up at that stand. And he said, I traveled around the world, and trust me, I've been in all these countries. And there's places people can't even hunt now, they gotta buy their own land. And think about what our founders said. That's what you should do. Don't rely on government so you can have fun. We have state parks, we got federal parks, we got all this stuff. Yeah, people should be able to buy their own land to hunt. It's a bonus if I can hunt on county land or state land, but it's something I don't hang my hat on and say, I wish the government would buy more land so I can hunt. But I don't believe in that. I ran on that. I just think that it's great we got what we have, but I'm not seeing that as an answer. We should spend money and build this easement on there so we can never prosper on that land.
We have, Lorraine County alone has 80,000 acres, I think that's 100% open to the public.
The other aspect of the DNR board, at their, I forgot which meeting, I think it was their December or January of this year, December 2022, when they did their deer harvest report back to the state conservation group, natural resources board, said the number of hunters were going down, declining. And I know I used to be a hunter education instructor and trying to instruct. And so DNR was doing what they're doing to attract new young hunters.
Sure.
But the numbers continually going down because, and my personal opinion is that we are, or at least I'm part of the baby boom generation. And you look at the statistic of when we're all gone, that's why I think we're having issues with workforce development, because there are more jobs than there are people.
Anything else for Jeff? Thanks, Jeff. One thing I can say about this, talking about the roads in there, none of those roads are open to ATVs or UTVs. That 70-mile road, none of them.
Are they open?
No, they're not open now, but when they do open the gates, that's not open to ATV or UTV use. It has to be a designated ATV
Road.
UTV route.
Right.
So
And it's just the same argument, all the land north of where I live, you can't get in there with ATVs and we pay for it, it's DNR land. Nobody's saying, hey, what the hell's going on? How come I can't get in there? They berm it, there's some logical reasons. They have four-wheelers climbing hills in Florence County, it makes sense. The erosion tears down these hills, I can see why but there's too many places where I wonder, why can't I get in here? I pay for this land and the DNR just blocks it off. And we don't have any of these people wondering why that is. Instead, they want more. And then we'll get this and then it'll be closed off. The next year will be phase 3. It doesn't end.
and as far as their roads, I don't know who walked them, but some of those roads are impassable. In fact, in phase 1, that was in all last year, there was gates that were never open, that was promised to be open. So already we're into it and they're not opening gates.
Yeah.
And one reason is you can't get down the road.
You know, one of the things that disturbed me, and I went back and listened to all those natural resource board meetings back from summer of 2022 and 2021, and well, when this all started. And at one point, one of the commissioners asked a question about these roads. And they said, well, the conservation, if I understand this and remember it correctly, conservation easement, our fund people said, we have plans for it, but we don't have them here to share. And the Natural Resource Board people said, why don't you bring them back? We'll bring them back next time.
They did.
I went and listened to those different meetings, thinking that that was going to be there. It never has come back. So I question what the Conservation Fund folks are planning, if they haven't even brought the plans back to the Natural Resource Board who asked for it.
Tell me what are your comments on this?
I'm still upset about the fact that they said they had the blessing of the Conservation Congress. And I have yet to find anybody on the Conservation Congress that has heard about it other than Carly Zimmerman, who is not on the Congress, she is the head of it. But apparently she's heard about it, and that's as far as I've gotten. This weekend is actually our meeting in Oshkosh, our annual spring hearing, so I'm hoping to find out more on Friday on that.
Okay, shouldn't, before you spend $15 million, don't you think you should know what you're getting? Shouldn't there be, in card writing where they're gonna allow ATVs, where they're gonna allow snowmobiles, where they're gonna allow the stuff that they said that they will discuss it after you spend the $15 million. So that's like, I go buy a car and I give them $50,000 and then afterwards they'll tell me what kind of car I'm gonna get.
Do you know when that happens, that the people don't have any say anymore? It's between the DNR and the owner of the land.
Yes. But we're gonna spend
This
$15
common
million,
sense tells you, be careful.
we're gonna spend $15 million without knowing what we're getting.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that listening to all the people on this panel, seems like to me, we're not giving it a chance, but we are. I've looked at this stuff, I've listened to the people, and there's nothing, I keep wondering, wow, am I on the wrong side? Because when this came up, I know some of you here, including me, thought this was a great idea. Oh, this easement will stop development. I'm sick of Chicago and Indiana moving up here and building and bringing their ideas up here. It's just, that was my first thought. I don't want this. I love the North Woods. I love clean air, clean water. I don't want any more building. That's selfishness. That quickly changed when I rethought this. Most of the people I talked to, they felt the same way. And then after you talk to them about it, hey, we got state forests. We got federal forests. We got hunting areas. We got county land. How much more do you want them to keep doing? Is there phase 3 next year? Is that gonna be okay too? Where do you end? So nothing I hear out here, it's the same thing every time. It's a boogeyman story. Strip mining's terrible. I worked at mines. You didn't probably. I worked at mines. Some of the best clean water comes out of mines. So that's a boogeyman story. Yes, we've had some problems, but what are you saying? Everything we can't develop then because you might have, we're people, we should have rules in place and we do to keep clean water. So that's the boogeyman story. I don't fall for that. But I am wondering, am I making the right decision? I did the thing on the resolution. The whole time I'm sitting over there going, I could be shooting myself in the foot. It's kind of nice to call it, but no, it's what I think is the right thing to do. This is no different. I'm thinking about it going, at first I was totally for it. Why did I change? And I'm waiting for somebody to come up here and say, there's the reason why we shouldn't do this. We should have this easement. It hasn't come up yet. It's the boogeyman is the only thing I hear. I hear the actual expert on economics. It's not gonna bring money to our community. It's just not. That doesn't mean I don't like quiet sports or I don't like snowmobiles. I like them all. But I don't see that. Nobody's changed my mind yet by listening to this. So I don't know if you guys are feeling like there's something, I'm waiting to hear that thing that's gonna say, there's a good reason, Tom, I like that. And maybe we should consider it. I haven't heard it yet.
One thing though, I would say, and I have lived conservation for all of my professional career with the university system in Minnesota and in Wisconsin and back in my alma mater, which is Missouri. And I go back to the Peabody Coal Company strip mines in Illinois. And some of them were in Missouri as well. And I remember as a forestry student at the University of Missouri, going out planting trees on strip mines because the mining people said they had it in their plan to do it, they never did it. So I really feel for it, and when I see the talk of mining, that bothers me, because we need to protect our waters. I am for mining. I like to drive on roads, paved roads. I don't want to be driving on gravel and roads all my life. But we have to be careful there, and I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is. I'm more upset with the process of what happened on this conservation easement. I'm for conservation. I'm not necessarily for preservation. And easement term for me is forever, and that scares me. But I am for conservation, definitely. We do a lot of good work, and we are doing good work, and I don't know why we have to have an easement, because we're doing so good work.
You just said it, the question here is, what does the easement do that if we just leave everything the same would be different? That's the question, what is gonna be different?
I can tell you one thing, that easement is not gonna make the trees grow faster, it's not gonna make the water cleaner. That land has been managed for 90-some years. And if it's not managed properly, it's the DNR's fault, because it's under the DNR's program. So this easement is not gonna change any of that. The only thing it would change is having the gates open for 6 months out of the year. Maybe, because they can close them up to 4 months for logging. That's in there too.
There's so many rules for mining, if you do it properly, you don't have a problem. If you don't do it properly and somebody fails that, you have problems. Here's the idea, all the water people that like clean water and clean air, they come to these meetings. We had a train tip over and go have chemicals go in the Mississippi River. It's like the 20th one in the last 6 months. I would be going there if I had a passion for clean water. That I think we should be arguing about Monaco, that's really nothing's changing. But they won't go over there and find out what derailed that train. What happened? This is terrible. They blow up a pipeline in the bottom of the ocean. You got oil in the ocean. Nobody's talking about that. They're worried about the Monaco's, the watershed up there, which is a beautiful watershed. Largest in our state, by the way. I did the pipe design for that. 27 miles of watershed comes down into the Monaco River pipes. It's awesome. But we won't ruin it by doing anything to that land if you follow rules. That's why the rules are there. What is different about the easement is what I want. I think
I just want to say that one thing that the easement would change is that no mining would occur on that property in perpetuity. And I think that means a lot to a lot of my constituents. I don't know if all of yours have been filling up your inbox as much as mine have been filling up my inboxes. But that's the main concern that I'm getting, is that we don't want the mining, regardless of rules. Mines invariably tend to break the rules. That's been the history. So what we're looking for in the future is pretty much the same thing we've gotten from them in the past. And if you're a mining company and you pollute, well, the only thing you have to do is close your doors. And you're no longer responsible because the business no longer exists. And you can start a business tomorrow in Canada under another name and continue to do what you've always done. So that is a significant difference that a lot of people are concerned about. At least that's what I hear most about.
Let me ask you a question. What in your life, anything in your life isn't affected by mining? Tell me one thing that isn't affected by mining in your life. And just one thing.
The love of my dog.
Huh?
The love of my dog.
Okay, granted. But we'll look the other way and we'll get our stuff from all around the world where there are no rules. And that's okay, because it's not in my backyard. On the forestry committee, we went to a mine up in Michigan and it was mind-bogglingly clean. The conservation groups up there were fought at tooth and nail in the beginning, but now are on board because the mining there is done so clean, it's unbelievable.
Now that would be a mine I would like to visit. I would like to see that at least once in my
We
lifetime.
did that a few years ago. And it's every vehicle that leaves that, what has to go through a car wash, nothing, not one drop of water leaves that mine site and goes through a purification plant where the water is purer than the water in Marquette, Michigan.
It's the same as a tertiary plant. We build these sewage plants, it's the same thing. You supposedly drink it, it comes in as poop and you can drink it coming out into the creek. I wouldn't drink it, but we have to continue living. You want electric cars and you have all these batteries, well, guess what? They're mining them over in China. And there's people dying and there's all kinds of bad stuff, but it's not in our backyard. I don't want a gravel pit next to my property any more than anybody else does, but I like driving on paved roads. I don't want a pig farm next to my house, so you know what, all this committee, we fought about that, we should not let these people come up here and build pig farms. And I eat bacon. Who the hell are we to say you can't do that or can't, well, it's for the water, clean air, don't you know? The boogeyman tactic again. No, I won't fall for that because it just hasn't been proven. You have messes, yes, we have to admit, but overall of all this, you know, they're following rules. And I've been doing this for long enough to see that the boogeyman doesn't work. Yes, you will find problems, but overall they're not. So I don't want a pig farm next to me. I don't want a gravel pit. And I want no development on that land because that's the selfish part of me. But I gotta get rid of myself and start looking at what other people should prosper on.
I would like to really spend more time talking about mining because I was associated with mines in Minnesota when up on the North Range. But that's not really our topic, so we've got to get back to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to number 8. The resolution 2023. To reject the state removing future taxable land by purchasing conservation easement and access easements. A lot has changed, I guess, since I had this resolution. As far as I can see right now, there's really no sense going back and correcting what was in this resolution. My recommendation would be taking like Monaco's or Sugar Camp and coming up with a new resolution to take to the county board. Don't you guys got any discussion on?
Well, I know that Supervisor Schreier, I think, mentioned in his email, it made sense to me that, you know, and at the Thursday town board meeting, they're looking for us to correct that first resolution. I happen to agree with you. I'm just saying what I've heard is they've come to say, hey, that had a lot of mistakes in it. And I wish the day we did this and I was sitting over there, I would have just crossed them out and said, let's take a vote. My mind hasn't changed, but take them out if there's mistakes. I don't need to fix them, just they didn't mean much to me in that way. You know, we had the acreage wrong, we had this wrong. There was minor details that did not because of you didn't know the right data. So we can correct it, but I agree with you, it'd be a waste of time. For me, that's not saying for you guys. I mean, I wanna know what you guys think, but I know what some people are looking for us to correct that, and that's what they said at Thursday's meeting. I think Stephen wants us to look at different avenues. Those are good comments. But I would be in favor of, let's take that resolution and forget fixing it. Let's, now what we know, let's look at some of these other ones and see if we like it or not.
Oh, I'll make some comments at this point. At the February County Board meeting, the motion was to create a committee of not more than 5 members and return to the county board on May 16, 2003. There was no direction in that motion. At the last meeting, Mike Fugel said you could bring back a corrected and updated or replacement resolution. So it's on the table. You got a few more weeks before the county board meeting. I think, first of all, mining is a part of this, and it didn't get talked about until I went down to Land Lake County. And then all of a sudden, they're talking about strip mining and another scare treatment into wanting you to put these easements on. I don't understand why in the forestry end of it, that they are taking the mining rights from the property. That's in that agreement. I didn't know that leading up to now, but they take away all exploration, anything to do, they limit the size of gravel pits. And just like I wasn't aware that you could only log 2,000 acres, and that will impact the loggers. Okay, now, what I see is, we are all for ATV, UTV. They could go through and create a 33-foot trail from Elko all the way to Pelican. They could create a easement from Monaco to Forest County, from that trail to the Oneida County Forest. That, I think we're all in favor of it. Same with the snowmobile trail. Give a snowmobile trail, put a permanent easement, and I think everybody would be happy with that. The problem we've had with this is nobody's talked to us. They know this is going on. Adam Payne called me, talked to me about it, but nothing's happened since. A lot of apologies from the DNR. Oh, we're sorry that we didn't do this. Jim Lemon, he said, I didn't reply to the DNR board, but he certainly didn't go check to see if the statute calls that you have to inform the counties and the affected towns. And he didn't go check to see that not one town or one county said we're for this or against this, but he didn't lie to the board, okay? So what we're looking for here is to get a meeting with people and sit down and give them our thoughts and our things. We're not saying no, but I don't believe that for us, we have plenty of land in Oneida County, just like you said, Mike, under all this. And then if you add the MFL, which is controlled by the government for another 25 years, and it could be controlled by the DNR with the next MFL contract that goes in. But I don't think we should give up any more land for public land. And so I think my direction to you guys would be, come back with a resolution that we have to take to the county board on May. We already can see the direction that's forming here. Maybe instruct your chairman to rewrite that resolution that Sugar Camp and Monaco did and come back with a county resolution. And the resolution does nothing. It just sends out and informs them, here's how we're thinking. But until we get somebody to talk to us, nobody talks to us.
Yeah, thanks. I think I'm ready to take a vote. Nothing, like I said, I don't want to keep meeting every week because I'm not hearing any new information. I know what I know. I know the people that don't want this to happen and they want to preserve it. That's what I felt in the beginning. But I haven't heard anything that jumps out that says this is gonna be a huge thing if we get this easement. It'll help my few friends down south come up and guarantee the bear hunt. That's it. I'm more interested in helping the towns that are being affected right here locally and let them prosper. If they want, leave that land alone. Nothing's changing my mind. I think what you're saying and what Tommy's saying is not really affecting me. It does in a way when somebody lies to me or somebody I think is trying to wiggle in and not telling me and, oh, sorry, we called the wrong chairman and all that. Yeah, that does make a difference. But bottom line, if they did everything right, I'd still be voting the same way. Because I haven't heard anything that's that big of a deal other than the boogeyman. Don't mind, we're gonna lose our water. Don't you know, Roach? Yeah, I do know. We follow rules, the water will be fine. I don't want it, but it's not who I am to tell us that we can't prosper on our land. That, nobody's changed my mind yet. So to have another meeting and another meeting, I'd rather write a resolution like you got in here to say, I'm not in favor of that and vote on it. If the county board votes against it, then they do.
My thoughts are making a new resolution, and I'm not saying removing future taxable land purchases or easements, but at least mandate that they come to the towns and the counties affected by it.
Good point.
I mean, if we're gonna, maybe they'll sell less, maybe they'll do change, you know, what they wanna do with it, maybe something else will come up. You know, I don't wanna sit there and make a resolution where we ban it completely. I think we should have some. I think there is some benefits to it. Albeit not in the near future, maybe not drastic, but, you know, maybe stopping them from ever mining, maybe doing some other, you know, we can kind of go any way with it, but I think stopping it altogether, not quite the answer, but write a new resolution mandating that the DNR comes to the townships.
So that would be like
Yes.
Monaco and Sugar Camp.
And Monaco Sugar
Not-
Camps. Yep, exactly.
It's not like the first one saying.
Correct. So.
And then DNR did call me and apologize.
That make a difference.
I mean, I still, like, it's really hard for me, and I mentioned to everybody that talks about this very for having it done, and I say, well, I said, you find it odd that Lincoln, Langlade, Oneida, Violets, Forest, all the surrounding counties that are nearby knew absolutely, the Conservation Congress delegates knew nothing about it. Every delegate that's on those committees did not hear a thing. I said, does that, but they gave the blessing, does that not sound fishy to any of you? Does it not sound fishy that they didn't have a meeting with Sugar Camp, Monaco, where they actually came into the room and talked? I mean, it just, you know, you're talking that amount of acreage just to, I mean, pull up the curtain and do everything behind it, just scares me. And I sell power sports equipment. I could benefit from this with my business, but I still find it just, it's alarming that everything was so cloak and dagger, and, you know, it's been all behind closed doors, and now it's, you know, now I seem like I'm the bad guy because I might be against it. And that's, you know.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I just had a question for you. When the Department of Natural Resources called you to apologize, did they say they were going to do something different?
He apologized the way it went down and that Sugar Camp and our resolution got lost, you know, mysteriously before the board meeting. He said he was gonna call me again.
But that has not happened.
No,
What he didn't say when he was gonna call
But
it.
it is something, well, okay.
you got that exactly.
Is that Jim?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Robert.
I saw Steve Dan on there.
Yeah, two comments. One, I fully support the suggestion that has been made so far. I don't see any value in reintroducing the resolution that we looked at back in February. Frankly, I think the best thing you can do is focus on what were the things that made you unhappy about this whole process. And the crux of it was no communication. That's probably supposed to be the main purpose of what's going on here today, or your past meetings, was you have open discussion, open communication. It sounds like at the very least, they're reaching out to you. They're not completely ignoring you. That's a good thing, but I have no problem with wording things where it says, we need these things to be mandated. We need these things to be written in stone. They need to happen. There needs to be communication with the communities that are directly impacted by decisions that are made by people in Madison, and we deal with it. There isn't a month that goes by we don't deal with decisions they make down in Madison. We have no control over. They call them mandates. Sometimes they fund them, sometimes they don't, and we got to figure out how to deal with it. I agree 100%, and that's what the resolution should really be focused on, is what are we objecting to? What are we not happy with? All the rest of it, the mistakes that were made, referencing whether it was dollar amounts or any of that stuff, it's not really relevant to what we're most upset about, to be perfectly honest. And I think that would be a very easy, a very simple resolution to put together. Frankly, some of the stuff that's in the Langley one, I agree with. I disagreed with them taking away the monies that you guys used to get in Monaco and no replacement. I mean, it was just like, yeah, no more, handle it, do without it. And this body, back when that happened, should have been there for Monaco and should have said, well, how's Monaco buying fire trucks? How are you paying for services now that you've made this decision? No explanation. Again, a decision in Madison gets made and we have to deal with it locally. But we have to have very specific language, I think, and we have to be of a mind on this. And I think if we're going to pass a resolution, the more support and the more people that are on there, frankly, I hope we can pass a unanimous resolution, because I think that will send a very strong message to the people who need to start doing their jobs and doing them correctly and responsibly, as far as the communities are concerned up here, especially the ones like Monaco that you're between a rock and a hard place. I mean, you're frankly, you should be counting your blessings. You're not dealing with the PFAS thing. to be quite honest. And I mean, that's where I may get a little bit rankled, a little, you know, my hair goes up a little bit because they also follow the rules. The rules were in place, and yet they're drinking water out of bottles. Why? They followed the rules. Nobody did anything wrong. But that's what happens. So the rules don't necessarily protect you. They're just there to protect the business people, quite frankly, more than anybody when it comes down to it. But that all being said, I agree 100%. We should have a resolution that pinpoints exactly what we're not happy about. That's what you want to be sending a message down to Madison and the rest to, along to our neighbors, Langley, Forest, anybody else who's in the same position that we're in. Are they trying to cut the power to company?
I think so.
I don't know. You never know, you never know. But I do agree, and I support that, and I'm confident you guys are gonna put together something that I think that the majority, if not all of the county board can agree with later this month. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Steve.
First of all, my age is a part of this that you were talking about. I just wonder, have any of you read the United County mining ordinance? When you say, well, I'm here to protect the waters and we can't have strip mining, have you read it? The process that it takes to get through a mine, have any of you guys read the mining ordinance? Because you should. So you know what's in that ordinance and how it protects the water, and instead of saying, destroy everything here, read the ordinance first. Robert, they talked about, like my town gets PILT payments, which is payment in lieu of tax. I get that, they doubled it last year because I have federal and I have Nicolay, I got the American Legion, the west of us, everybody who gets PILT payments, you don't get nothing from MFL land.
No, you don't.
So when they took your severance tax away, they kind of dug your town into a hole, because I know you don't get enough money on the other 20% of land that's available for taxation. And by giving this up, it's not going to benefit your town anymore. It's actually going to degrade your town.
And some of our other land is state, county, town, and other MFL land.
Yeah.
I was just talking about the conservation fund.
So your town doesn't get any of the state money like my town gets and some of the other ones get to help offset our taxes. So I got $40,000 in PILT payments last year to help offset my taxes. You get nothing. And now if they take your MFL, you still get nothing.
Right, because none of the MFL goes
So
towards
that
goals
is a
either.
major concern. If they're gonna
None of
start
that.
taking property away, how are you gonna help those towns out when they take the property off what they call MFL or future development? They need to come back with a tax to help offset that. That's one of our concerns to talk, until they come and talk to us someday. Right now, we all talk about the people who own this property are owners. They have a right to go stick those easements on right now, tomorrow, and record it. They just can't do it without our tax dollars or grant money or federal money. This isn't about, they're all for conservation. This is a money deal, a big money deal, millions of dollars. They need this. I don't think that the DNR can move ahead with the Knowles Nelson Fund, because within the statute, it says in order to get that money, you must inform the affected towns and the counties. They never informed Oneida County. So I don't think they could use that fund at this point until they do it. Adam Payne, who's a new DNR secretary, I believe in December, went in, says that they will have conversations with us. But we still need to pass a resolution on the May 16th. You guys need to come up with this, and I think the easiest way is assign your chairman to come up with a resolution to present to you guys, and then you go through it and change it, and you adopt it. It's under the county board. And you have to do it by the 9th.
16.
May 9th is when it has to be to the clerk by 9 o'clock in the morning. No, 11, May 11th. I got the wrong day. May 16th is the board meeting, May 11th. is
Thursday, May
clerk.
11th by 9 a.m.
So do we have to have another board meeting before that, or can we?
Yeah, you probably should schedule maybe about May 9th and 2 days before that, so you can finalize it. But you were instructed to bring that to the county board on May 16th.
They get like $268 an acre on that easement.
You know, what I was told many times is Monaco's a dying town, it doesn't matter. Didn't you know that? You're a dying
Yeah, I
town.
see that.
Monaco Enterprise, those are just dead towns, and I'll tell you what, I'm 59 years old. When I went to the parade in the Memorial Day Parade in Florence, Wisconsin, which is a dead town, it's ghost town. Just when I was 8 years old, it was lined with people, big floats, thousands of people down there. There's a mining town that way. It was a very prosperous town, Commonwealth, it's gone now. But my point is, you don't know how time's gonna change. Monaco might not have a lot of people there today, but don't take the potential away. And that's all I'm trying to have people open their minds up.
What is it, 10th? You want the 10th or 9th or which?
Well, I think you should give yourself, because if you make changes, it gives you 2 days to revise it to get it to the county clerk. So I think that Tuesday the 9th, you guys should have another meeting and finalize your resolution. And then submit it to the county clerk on the 11th. So you basically should have a motion to move ahead with something there.
No, I'll be in Utah, but you can go though.
Okay, then motion for the 9th for the next meeting.
So.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Is that gonna be a morning meeting then?
Yeah,
10 a.m.?
does that work?
Yeah, that works for me.
That work for you, Bob? 10 o'clock,
Just one for the night.
May 9th, right?
Robert, did you make a motion instruction for Robert to do the resolution and bring back that direction here?
Yeah, so I suppose it should be a motion for instruct.
I won't be there, so.
Well, I can make a motion to instruct you to pull together a resolution.
And then I'll send it to you guys.
And I'll second it, and then we'll discuss it on the ninth.
Got a motion in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We got anything else? Do you have something else? No. Nothing else, then we'll adjourn.